Rocco Bova, who's been a highly esteemed, highly decorated hospitality expert, will be joining us today to talk about the challenge with hospitality education in our current industry climate and whatever else we can get to. But that's basically the meat and potatoes of it. So without further ado, please welcome for the first time to the PM shift, the man, the myth, the legend, Rocco Bova.
Ooh, I got to get my sound effects back.
Welcome.
It's a long story. Welcome to the show, Rocco.
Oh my God, this is incredible. Thank you for the kind words, and thank you so much for the great introduction. I feel like an Hollywood star. Where is my Oscar?
Yes. Well, after the show, I'm sure somebody will be reaching out from the Oscars to give you one.
That's great.
Yes. Everyone seems excited to have you on the show. Aloha, Rocco.
Aloha, Rocco from Craig.
Tom getting sassy about the Facebook. Dylan, welcome. Good to have you.
I'm starting to put my foot down around here. No more passive Tom. It's about getting things done.
Well, after last week, Tom almost got stripped of his producer title because he was goofing up a little bit. Graphic. But yeah.
By the way, can I ask you a question? What is hospitality MD? What's the MD thing stand for?
Go ahead, Tom.
So,
ask the one guy that wasn't here when we created this.
I know that's why I wanted to answer the question.
It's like we're the doctors diagnosing the problems in the hospitality industry. So it's hospitality and then like medical MD. And I'm hoping to spin on that at some point to have a hospitality media division as well. So.
Ooh, that's smart. That's actually clever because when we came up with the whole concept of the show, we didn't think about that. We thought we were being clever, like MD, like doctors.
And you know what? Our early graphics actually had them wearing kind of doctorish type uniforms.
That was actually really cool. By the way,
we had stethoscopes on there. We actually bought stethoscopes because we thought we were going to do something with it. In a little less than 3 months, we have our 5-year anniversary. I still have the video from our first meeting that we had where we talked about all the ideas we want to do. I think that'd be fun to put out there.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Good. Share some history on YouTube. I'm sure that people will love to hear it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So Greg, I think I'm going to throw up this graphic that you put together that we had for Josh. Let's do this one too. I know we've been kind of over introing you today, but we've got to show out. So
that should have played after I introduced him.
Well, Tom gave me a hard time about using the same one from Josh last week. So I'm like, you know what? I won't do it. I'm not going to do it because then Tom's going to give me crap. But there you go. Well, he ended up doing it anyway.
Well, you put the work in, so I wanted to recognize your efforts.
I appreciate it.
Of course.
So Rocco, I just want to real quick because you really are you're the real deal in this business. Very few people get to where you've been in this business. So why don't you just give us a quick rundown of just a quick bullet points, where you've been, what you've done, and then we'll get into the education.
Wow. Okay. So 30 years of experience in about 10 seconds. So I was born in Italy. I'm 52 years old. I started my first job. I was 13 years old. I was fired after 3 days. And that gave me the energy to say, I'm going to make this. I can do this. So year after year, I got better and better at holding a tray, opening bottle of beers and wines and serving customers. And then I fell in love with this industry so much so that I decided to go to a university in London to study hospitality. And there my career, just lift off to go far, really far. So from London, I went to Dubai, and then I went to Egypt, then I went to Singapore, then I went to Malaysia, then India, then Oman, Indian Ocean. the Caribbean, and now Mexico since the past 6 years, where I've been working now leading one of the best resorts in the world, Chablé, Yucatan. And the past year or so, I've been doing consultancy.
That's highly impressive. So you started out in food and beverage.
I started as a humble waiter, yes.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, as I've been talking about this a little bit more recently on the show, is all three of us started out in rooms, and recently I strayed off the rooms path into the food and beverage world. And I was like, why did nobody tell me that I should have started in food and beverage to begin with if I wanted to be more successful? That's my opinion now as I've looked back on having both.
I don't tend to agree 100%. Yes, perhaps the people in food and beverage, they get a different vision of what hospitality is all about. But I think anybody can have the same opportunity, no matter if they come from housekeeping, kitchen. I mean, there are a lot of chefs now becoming general managers.
Yeah,
it's just the limitation is us. We only limit ourselves on what we can or we cannot do. So if we put ourselves limits, then definitely you will not be able to do it. But anything is possible. It doesn't matter.
That's a great message to everybody out there. Great message to the industry. So you went to hospitality school?
I went to hospitality school. Yes, I was 28 when I went back to school. Imagine. So I found my calling much later. You know, I was not that young anymore. You know, but I thought it was the best time to get back into education and study, so to get ready for my career. And you know, the education system. I was lucky to study in the UK. You know, where there is a different education system, but differently from most European country. And when I say European country, I'm talking about France, Europe, Spain, even Switzerland. You know, if we can put this into the basket, because you know, while the Swiss hospitality school, they are by name and by reputation, you know, some of the best in the world, I think that they still lack of a certain understanding of what really is needed. And I give you some example. The majority of professors that teach in hospitality schools have not been working for at least 5 years. Now, for some people say, well, 5 years, you know, I only been teaching for 5 years, you know, so I'm fresh. Mm-hmm. Absolutely wrong. You know, the hospitality changes every second. So 5 years is already obsolete. You know, whatever I learned, whatever I did 5 years ago is already old. It's already off the board. We cannot count it as an experience. That's past already. So for a professor, imagine a professor that they've been teaching for their life, and they had basically never experienced, you know, or maybe the very few years of their career they started to work, and then they got into teaching. So how can they teach really people what hospitality work is actually about? So I think we need to get teachers out of the school like the internship. Like the internship the student do, teachers should go in the internship as well. You know,
it's a great idea.
Why not? I mean, it doesn't matter if they are 50 or 60 years old. You know, they can still hold the tray, or they can still, maybe they cannot work as a waiter or chef. So, you know, but they can work as a manager. They can work in reception, in the HR department, finance, because the real life hotel environment is different from what you see in a nice school environment. That's one. You know, it happens that my son is just only 19, and he decided to study as well hospitality management. So I'm very proud. I'm very proud of him, of course. Yeah, of course. I'm extremely happy. And he is now in Holland. He's studying hospitality management at the Hotel School of The Hague. And also he kind of, I not complained to me, but he told me, hey, Dad, sometimes it's boring. It's too easy for me, So, I mean, I don't know if I can say that. This is biased a little bit. But maybe my son has an IQ level higher than most, okay, or than some, and definitely he needs a little bit more more challenge, when it comes to teaching. So if something is too easy, people can get bored. So I don't know if school system adapt to different level of students, or if they are able to intercept these people, with higher IQ earlier, so that perhaps they can tell them, hey, maybe you can skip the first year and go into the second year right away. We can give you some materials so you can catch up with what is being done on the first year, but then you can skip the first year and go into the second year. This kind of things, we need to be a lot more. I mean, for example, studying for 4 years. Can you imagine you need to study 4 years to get into hospitality?
Crazy.
That's
crazy. That's
insane. Whatever you study on the first year is already old on the fourth. So
there you go.
You wasted 3 years of your life basically, behind a teacher desk and okay, listening to some stuff. Of course, you have to educate yourself. But can we not do, more condensed learning instead of doing 4 years? I mean, can we not do this in 2 years? I cannot believe that. I was lucky, for example, when I was in London, I went to a course. I identified exactly the course I wanted to do. And I was able to get a professional diploma in 1 year. So it was perfect because I was already experienced. I was not point blank and had never worked in the industry. So I already had some 6-7 years of experience. And so I already knew what they were talking about. I just didn't have that piece of paper to back me up if I have to go for an assistant manager or manager position. And once I got it, immediately I got into my first manager job. But it was just a matter of getting that piece of paper. So, I mean, I think we can do so much in reviewing the way the education is done. And the system are probably as old as they were 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah, my thought is, like you said, a 2-year program, but at that same time, they're working in a hotel. So you're getting real life experience, 2 years of education, and then you should be good. I mean, you're going to learn more working in that hotel than you will sitting in that classroom.
Well, my for example, in the hotel school of the Hague, for example, they do 4 years, but 1 year is actually practical learning. So they go to work in a hotel or restaurant and they do practical learning. And then, of course, they need to prepare a project, they need to do a thesis, and so on and so forth. But still it's 3 years of learning, and 4 years anyway of a course that you have to go through in any case. So it's still 4 years. I feel personally that it's just too long. I think they can do easily with 2 years and get away with it and get into work. And then eventually, during their life, their working life, they should go back to school again. I went back to school, at the Cornell University. I was 42. I did the general manager program. It was great. It was fantastic. I learned a lot of things. They were very up to date at the time. Mm-hmm. Now it's too old. Now I need to go back to school again. In fact, I'm thinking already, what can I do? Which is obviously is a time bound, because I cannot go for 1 year. I can only go 10, 15 days maximum. But I cannot find anything that is 10, 15 days. There is nothing of that kind of.
Right. That's a great point. Is like, especially I've found that as I've worked, you don't know what you don't know until you find it out. So, when I first started in the industry, I didn't know that I didn't recognize the fact that I didn't know how to cost out a menu, or I didn't recognize that I didn't know how to do these certain things because I wasn't exposed to those parts of the business yet. So I do find it imperative as we grow and as we start to learn new things and decide, oh, I'm encountering a new thing that I haven't encountered before. And I could use some education on this. And there's nothing, like you said, that's abbreviated. That's something that you can go to for a couple weeks to bolster yourself a little bit, help you confront these challenges as you go through your career. You learn all this stuff before you even start in the business. And then by the time you build up the experience to get to the point to where you would be using those skills, you've either forgotten them or it's too old to use now.
I want to throw in there, because I'm recently a college graduate, just a few years ago, and something that I believe is in line with your sentiments about when somebody is advanced and they get bored with the subject matter that they're studying, it can lead to problems, because it's kind of like former, when you used to be really smart and then you got bored and you stopped paying attention, and then you lost your place inside of the class, because you needed to, you just need to catch up now because the material got boring, you didn't pay attention, and then you missed a couple of steps. Right now in business and hospitality, you can do any business, from cars to hospitality to even, I guess, the airlines. What's the focus right now? With luxury, what's the focus right now? It's personalization, individualization. Every single individual that comes through the door is personalized. Whenever you can put the individual's preferences in, you can have their favorite snack inside of the room. You can have their name sewn into the robe when they enter the room. This is extreme individualization, personalization. Why can't that be possible for our students, to where every so often in a period of time, whether that be a couple of months or a semester or a trimester, there is a review of their skill set, where they're at and their development, and to say, hey, actually right now you're on a fast track and you don't need to do this, or that, because you've already got it. Why don't we get you started at a higher level management course? Because otherwise we're going to lose you. You know what I mean? And we can develop that talent quicker, get you into the workforce faster, and everybody is better off from that. Nobody's suffering, and the student is enjoying it because they have something to really dive into and sink their teeth into.
Yeah, but think about also auditing. I don't know of any school doing this, but I think this is also another initiative that the schools can do. For example, take a group of students and go and audit a hotel or restaurant or a tourism business. It can be a tour operator or a travel agent or a transportation company, but just go and audit them. Just let them really get their hands dirty, because otherwise it's going to be theory, a lot of theory, a lot of books that were written probably 10, 15 years ago anyway, and stuff that is not up to date. It's not actual. So, I even for me, for example, when people they come for internship. I mean, let's think about interns. Your people come from as a student. They come from so far away. They come to Mexico. They go to Singapore or India, and they work as interns. I don't know, in a nice, beautiful 5-star luxury hotel. Most of the time, what task they get? The worst. They're going clean dishes. They're going count linen.
Banquet server.
Yeah, they just give the worst, the most basic, because they are scared, of course. A student will make a mess. They need to learn. Students today, they're so smart. 20 years old, can take you around for a ride, in 3 seconds. We're just so scared. We just need to give people their chance and let them be themselves and do something.
Yeah, these interns are basically the supplementary seasonal labor that some of these hotel needs to get through the busy season, and that's their internship program is free seasonal labor for them, or at a marginal cost.
At a marginal cost, yes.
But I do think that that you're absolutely right. When you give people the freedom to explore what they're interested in and create something or be a part of something bigger than just counting linen or rolling silverware or whatever they're doing, they're going to rise to the occasion more than likely. Sure. And at least if they don't, they'll at least feel good enough that they tried to do it and they tried to rise to the occasion. Then at the end of the day, they're still a student, so you're protected because it doesn't count. It's all part of this. It's all
exactly. Nobody's gonna tell you, this. He was a disaster. At the end
right,
of the day,
right. You're not going to get fired because you don't have a job yet.
Exactly.
So it's the right time to do it before you have real stakes on the line.
But Kyle, I want to tell you something. When a few years back, when I was getting interns, whether they were national or international students, they used to ask me what am I going to learn, and my answer to them was, what do you want to learn? You prepare your training program, and I adapt it to what you want to learn, rather than me telling you what you need to learn, because maybe I'm teaching you stuff that makes absolutely no sense for you. So what is the point for me telling you what I'm gonna teach you? You tell me what you want to learn. Here we got anything for you available, but you need to be clear on what your learning objectives are. Otherwise, you come here, I give you a program, and this program is useless for you. Well, what we are not ready as a hotelier most of the time, we're not ready with a program. At least we should be ready with a program, or as an option. If the student is not ready with their own learning objectives, it's fine, because maybe they're not prepared, maybe they're not, they don't know yet. So, but the majority of hotels, they don't have a program for trainees. In fact, I told my son to work on an induction program for trainees, because he too, obviously, he had this first internship, and he said, I didn't know anything, so I had to learn by myself, which is okay. I mean, we all went through this at some point in our lives, but why do we need to do that? Why are we not prepared?
Yeah, that's a great point. And these interns, by the way, they just got blessed and lucky to have you in their life when they did. What did Josh say? I had interns in Chicago. We cycled them through every department and leadership position and gave them a well-rounded experience.
That's cool.
That's great.
Really cool. That's
fantastic.
Great.
I had an intern over this past summer, and she was 19 years old. She was a freshman going into sophomore year, so very early on internship in her college career. And our management company was going through negotiations to take over a management contract of a country club, which now we've successfully managed to take over that project. And the first meeting that we had with these people, she was sitting at the table with a real life deal being crafted, a real life business people sitting around talking about partnering. We took her to on sales calls with clients. So we show her how to make money for the business. We show her how to negotiate with people. Like, we're showing somebody 19 years old, here's how you actually are. Here's how you can really be valuable. You can make money by making sales. You can create deals with people, instead of just throwing her into the laundry room and saying, have fun. But when we did put her into housekeeping, I said, after 1 week, I want you to lead the stand-up meeting, because she's intimidated because she doesn't speak the same language as everybody else in housekeeping. She doesn't know, what are they saying? Are they talking about her? All those things that people think. So I was like, you work with them for 1 week, and then you lead the meeting in the morning, and then you run the whole day. You check their rooms. If they mess something up, you tell them to come back and do it. And imagine her confidence going through the roof after going from timid, shy 19 years old to going in and being able to run a housekeeping shift, open it up, close it down, check the rooms, talk to the ladies, get the stuff done.
That's intimidating.
Right. Well, Kyle, what does that tell somebody? Because when you're bringing in the lifeblood of the future of the industry, and what are you doing instead is, giving them silverware to wrap, or, throwing them in the laundry room to just fold whatever goes in front of them. how do they feel when they're given those tasks?
Forgotten about.
I mean, not to say that those tasks aren't something that you can take pride in, but this is somebody that has an idea for an education that they want to take part in. When you bring those interns to the table, you show them that they're valued and that they have, that this is something that you have instilled trust in them for. I think that that's wonderful.
Well, and also it's like we're not bringing in an intern. Like an intern is an education. It's an educational experience. It's not a labor
Occupation.
Necessarily. You're not I totally disagree with using interns as labor. Except sometimes I will say, like with the intern that we had over the summer, I did use her as labor for certain things because she needed to relate to people. She needed to see what it's like to do it. Like you can still do labor, but it's not like you're going to be doing that day in and day out. And while she was working, it's like, okay, you're working as a server on this function. Okay, but let's step back. Like I would literally pull her aside during a function and be like, okay, what do you see everybody doing right now? And where do you think you should be based on where everybody else is? Like, so she can start to see how do people fit into the puzzle of like where the guests are, what people's emotions are, what the program of the party is, all these different things that are important. So you can still have somebody do labor, but you also have to connect them to the big picture dots actively throughout every step of that person's shift.
I don't think it's a problem to work. While you're learning, you need to work, and that's where you learn best. When you do things, you learn faster. So I don't see any problem with working while in intern. But of course, there is a limitation, and there is also certain tasks that they should not be doing. For example, dangerous tasks, they should not be do that. They should not get into using machinery because obviously maybe they don't have the skills and the experience to use certain machinery. Very often they're not even supervised, so they get sent into some task and without supervision. That's also very dangerous. At the end of the day, it's also about their safety, not just learning.
Right, absolutely. And yeah, especially considering a lot of these people are coming in far away from home in a place they're unfamiliar with. The last thing they want to do is get hurt while they're on their internship.
Right, imagine that.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Greg, have you ever had an intern?
Yeah, we actually both had an intern at the WIT. We had Hugo.
Oh, that's right.
And he worked our switchboard, and then he got used in housekeeping as a houseman.
What do you think? How did we do with him in retrospect?
Well, I don't think he was a hospitality intern. I think he was just interning for college credits. But at the end of the day, we could have done more for him. I think we just came down to necessity. We needed somewhere to put him. We needed a position covered, and he was available. So I think it just kind of worked out. But he did extremely well at it.
Oh yeah, he was great.
He grew so much as when he was our operator, and then he worked his butt off. He was doing 6 days a week, I think, as a houseman.
Mm-hmm. But it was almost like, oh shit, the intern's here. We don't have a plan.
But when you make them feel like they're part of the program, that's when they really activate and get involved.
Yeah,
you're going to give them a stake to be a part of this.
And he was, and I mean, that front office we were a really great team, and I think he really welcomed them in, made them feel comfortable. He came to our movie premiere. Like that's how much we still care about Hugo and his success. And he's one of the smartest people I've ever met.
Yeah.
That guy is going to save the world. He's doing some stuff with food, agriculture. It's just a smart kid. And he's not a kid anymore. I think he's like your age, but
when you're a part of success, it makes you feel better about yourself. So I think you want to expose people primarily to success. But depending on who the person is, maybe you can expose them to the challenges that, in your organization. But if you don't have any experience in the business, I think, you should want to show them what it looks like to do something the right way, and give them the opportunity to see something done right, so that when they go off inevitably and they see something done wrong, they can at least recognize that this isn't how it always is. Like I remember being at Indian Lakes and everything was wrong, and I didn't even know how wrong it was. That's why I didn't mind working there, because I had no idea how bad it was. It was my first hotel, and it was within 6 months of me not being there anymore, the hotel lost its flag and its franchise and everything like that. So it was that bad, but I was just like a newborn baby, wet behind the ears, had no idea, because I was ignorant. I didn't think, you're like, well, this is just what it's like to be in the business. But I left having no idea what something done right looks like. There were a few examples of things that we did right, but in terms of how the business was run, it was run very poorly. So your exposure is to poorly run businesses.
But Kyle, I want to touch on something. I want to touch on adult education. Not just a young student, but people like me, for example. So today, I have two options. Either I do an MBA, or I do again what I did at Cornell, with the general manager program. I don't have other option. There is nothing in between, and there is nothing alternative to that. So an MBA will take you 1, maybe even 2 years. If you do it hybrid, like half in presence and half remote or virtual, and it's impossible for people that is still working to actually do an MBA. I don't know how they can do, but I know some people, they did it, and God bless them. But I in my case in particular, is nearly impossible. I don't want to wait 2 or 3 years to do an MBA. And what am I going to do in 3 years with an MBA? Probably nothing. I want to get some real education, which is in pills, which is a week to 10 days, or maybe up to 2 weeks maximum, but no more than 2 weeks, because I can take 2 weeks vacation and invest this vacation into education. But there's nothing like that. There's no university that I know of, at least. If you know one guy, please let me know, because I'm looking for one desperately. And basically, yes, we are stuck. We are also, in the second life, we are stuck as well in terms of education. There's nothing we can do, unless, of course, you can find some, small courses of 1 day or whatever, 2 days. But this is not really
right. You want something substantial, but something that's going to be practical for somebody who's working and somebody who's a professional.
With a level of accreditation as well, because I'm sure you can find, all sorts of online courses, but what value are you pulling from it?
Zero values. Yeah.
What can you show to other institutions and employers to say what you've done? They're going to look at that and kind of chuckle and say, "What?"
I'm sure you remember during the pandemic there were a lot of free courses. That they would give you some kind of diploma or certification. But they were worthless, really. I mean, it was a nice thing to do, because there was a lot of free time, obviously, and it was nice for some institution to provide these free courses.
But what if people retained from now? People sitting here today, what do they remember from taking those courses?
Yeah, I think at the time it was great to keep people interested in the industry. But Dr. Ricci did a great job.
I liked the idea of because I think Dr. Ricci with Florida Atlantic, he was basically if I remember correctly, he was like, guys, this is not our certificate program. We're putting this together because we want to just, while everybody in our industry is laid off, we'd like to at least keep you guys engaged for a little while. And we're going to give you some basic skills. And I remember they talked about, I can't remember everything they talked about to everybody's point tonight, but they did have some value. I think they talked about, RevPAR and other stuff that people want to know about. And it was very beneficial for me, not because I learned a lot from it, but because I was still working at the time, but I was working in a dead hotel, 12-hour shifts overnight, and I had nothing else to do. So I may as well do this course online, which maybe took half of one shift to complete. I don't necessarily remember, but yeah, but Rocco, I agree with you. At the end of the day, all these courses that came out during the pandemic, they have no value in terms of if somebody looks at that and says, oh, wow, you have this certificate or you completed this course, because so did everybody else. And what differentiating thing do you have? So we have a question for you from Dylan.
Oh, yeah.
How hands-on is Rocco on a daily basis, and to what degree does he need to delegate? Interesting question.
Well, I can tell you how hands-on I was. Now the past year or so, obviously, as a consultant, I don't really work hands-on, because obviously I'm more into advising, on certain business or investment, or even I get involved in construction design and so on and so forth. But when I was working as a general manager, I mean, my hands-on will be as far as going to receive guests at the airport, pick up the luggage, do the check-in myself. That was the best, or at least one of the best part of my job. When I was actually going myself to receive guests. That was the most amazing way of being in hospitality, because you are like welcoming a family member or a great friend, to your home. Definitely hands-on. I think more hands-on than this, I don't think you can. And then when there were functions, I would jump in and help, setting up tables whenever it was necessary. Of course, as a general manager, you cannot be 100% hands-on. I mean, let's be real. As much as people want to be hands-on, you cannot be really that much. You still need to spend some time coaching people, other times solving problems for guests, and talking to the owners, talking to the management companies, so you've got to do a 360-degree job. Yeah, there is a percentage of hands-on, really walking the floor and shaking the hands and kissing the babies. But, in independent company, this is obviously a lot more flexible. You can measure how much you want to spend on the floor. With more international companies, this is getting lesser and lesser and lesser, sadly.
Well, they don't want you to do that now, more than likely.
I'm not sure if they don't want, but the bigger groups, they give you so many tasks to do that you're stuck in call after meeting after this, and more calls and more meeting and more report that you need to send. And I mean, it's just amazing. But again, that's no longer the GM job. It's more an administrator. And that's okay. If that's the way they prefer to manage their hotels, that's perfectly fine.
Rocco, I totally agree with you. I think that's probably my opinion of the biggest problem with management companies and general managers, is that the administrative burden tends to fall on the general manager in a lot of these cases, which I just don't think is the right thing to do, because you can't be a creative thinker, you can't be a problem solver, you can't be an innovator if you're burdened by paperwork, endless phone calls, never-ending meetings. You'll never innovate your way to success that way, because your brain's not going to be thinking that way. My opinion.
I cannot talk too much. I'm afraid that it is what it is, and you have enough hotels in the world that you can choose whether to work for a big management company, or you want to work for a small individual independent hotels. I've worked for both. I worked for large company, medium company, and in independent hotels. I have learned from all, and I've benefited from all, because obviously the more rounded is your learning process, the more segment you are able to absorb skills and knowledge, the better you are in the longer term. Today, after 30 years, I feel very comfortable to be a consultant. I know people that they are consulting, but they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about, because maybe they only work for one company for all their life, and they only know one way of thinking. So no, I don't think there is anything wrong. It's just their way to do business, their way to manage their business, and that's okay. I mean, some GMs, they love to stay in the office anyway.
Right.
Not everybody is hugging the baby, hugging the people and kissing the baby. No. A lot of people, they prefer to stay in the office because they don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to handle guest complaint. They don't want to handle a staff complaint or anything that is to do with solving problems. They prefer to say, no. My assistant can handle that, and they send somebody else.
Yep. Kyle and I has worked with somebody like that before.
We have. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think if that's who you are, if you're somebody who is the leader of a business, a hotel business, and you don't want to go and step foot into the public area, and you want to be in your office, you may as well be under your desk sucking your thumb at that point.
Or you stay home. even better. I mean, what would you go?
GM.
Why would you? Yeah, work from home. And send a WhatsApp, and make a phone call from home.
And it's funny because the guy that Greg's talking about that we worked with before, he barely was at the hotel at a certain time in life. He barely showed up. It's like, how did he get so lucky to have this job called general manager of this hotel where you don't have to come to the hotel?
Well, it's because he had a very strong number 2 that was taking care of everything with the rest.
Yeah, very strong number 2.
But he also had to have some great connection with the owners of the hotel, because
yes,
me as an owner of a hotel, if I don't see the general manager, in where it's supposed to be, I mean, I will not be a happy owner.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he definitely had that connection.
He had that too, until it backfired. Things happened, but that's a whole different story for another time.
Sure. Hey, why don't you do a nice for few people only, like a one program, where you can talk about that stuff.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Just
the really
invitation.
hot stuff. The really hot stuff.
Yeah. You can talk about the nitty gritty. Usually, I'm pretty open about most things on this show, but there are some things that, well, you know what, maybe we would need to keep it to a smaller group of people.
Sure.
Do sell tickets, do a live show event where you can come in, you have to buy tickets to get in, and then it's impossible to do a screen recording or anything like that. So it would take some technical specs.
Put your phone into one of those bags that they give you when you go to concerts.
Yeah, it's like a comedian
lock
thing.
bag.
You gotta.
Yeah. But
nice. Well, Rocco, why don't you, before we sign off, why don't you tell us a bit about My Humble House? I see you're doing a lot of great things with.
Yeah, I was reading about it. I was very impressed with some of your some of the values that you're standing for inside of the mission. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about it too.
Well, I mean, I'm delighted and humbled that you actually asking me this question, because I was not expecting that. I was not prepared for that. But as it's something very close to my heart, I will definitely share how did I came about this dream coming true, because it is coming true. Actually, it's already true. So about 20 years ago, I was in Singapore, and I was invited for the grand opening of a restaurant at the Esplanade, which is the opera house of Singapore, and this restaurant was named My Humble House. The restaurant was fancy, like most restaurants in Singapore, very fancy and with the nice furniture and decoration and stuff. but it didn't really impress me. It was just another nice restaurant. When you work in this business, you know what a nice restaurant look like. So it was just another nice restaurant. But the name really ring a bell, very, very loud. And I say, I need to keep this name. So I keep a digital diary where I write down all the things that come to my mind. And I say, one day I'm going to use this name. So when I turned 50, which was 2 years ago, I said to myself, well, at this milestone birthday, I think I need to do something. And because I know only about hospitality, I think I need to do something about hospitality. And this name came back to me and said, My Humble House, maybe I should do something with that now and create a new hotel concept. Actually, I'm going back to the hotel concept as such, but a new hotel concept which has a different meaning of hospitality. And so I started, I had so much in my head, and naturally I started to write down. I wrote about 150 pages in paper, on my computer.
Wow.
And these 150 pages, I sent it out to about 200 people around the world. I'm talking about general manager level, C-level executives, some friends and families, and all these people. They all told me, Rocco, this is great. It's messy. It's a big mess, but I get what you want to do. If you put some order, this will look even better. Do a business plan about My Humble House and present it to people so that maybe one day you can create this brand and you can actually operate with this concept. And so I started to work again and polish and clean and cut and delete and edit and do. So I shrunk this document to 60 pages now. And I think it's the most amazing work of art, for me at least, that I have done in my career. I'm very proud of it because I think I defined a unique business model for the hospitality. And My Humble House is founded on three main pillars when it comes to the business model I'm talking about. So the first pillar is that we pay the best salary and benefit of the area where the hotel will be based. So we do a benchmark, and we will pay at least 10% more than everybody else. The second pillar is that 10% of the net profit will be shared with all team members. And another 10% of the net profit will be kept in a fund, untouchable, even by the owners, because this fund will be used eventually for a situation like the pandemic. So no company in the world...
Right.
No company in the world thought, hey, let's keep some money just in case. No, let's give back the money, the dividend to our shareholders so they will be happy and our shares will keep growing and blah, blah, blah. So what happened when the pandemic came? The first thing we did, we just cut head off and, roll it down the stairs. It didn't matter. And now we're all crying because there is no staff. Why there is no staff? Because, of course, we didn't care about them. And I'm talking about the majority of companies. I'm talking about probably 98% of companies in the world. The first thing they did is reduce headcount. And I thought that this was very unfair, because I was lucky to work for a company in 2 occasions during the pandemic, for a company that actually didn't get rid of a single team member, not a single one. They did all the measure, the cutting salary and reducing working hours and whatever to save cash, of course, but they didn't get rid of one single person. And for me, it's very, very noble, for these
Extremely.
people. And so I said, okay, let's work on a business model that is workable, and that also has a return on the investment. Because who's going to be the crazy investor who's going to give me, let's say, $20 million and say, okay, let's build a nice resort, a 5-star luxury hotel, and give my profit back to the staff. It's going to be very difficult. It's not impossible, but it's going to be very difficult. And I'll find this crazy person. I know he's there. I just need to find the right person. Let me tell you, where this 20% of net profit is coming from. So you know that people are stealing money, cash. I'm talking about cash.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't want to say that everybody working in hospitality is a thief, but there are a number of people stealing money. There are a number of people stealing time, so being totally
Right.
inefficient, like the general manager you just talked about, that this guy was never coming to the office. So he still get paid, you know, he get paid
Right.
100%.
A lot of money.
And a lot of money, you know. So why would I pay a person 100% when he's only giving me 80% or even 70 or even 50%? Because we know that time is money. And the third thing, they're stealing goods, you know, things, items, you know. I don't know,
Food, tools.
Snacks from the snack shop.
from maintenance, from the snack shop, from the mini bar, amenities from the room. So if we make people aware that, okay, you know what? Let me tell you how a business works. Let me teach you how a business works. And if you help me make more money, the more money I make, the more money you make. Because I'm going to share the profit with you, and I'm going to make sure that I keep some money, because in case we have a situation like we did during the pandemic, I will do anything possible to keep your job. So this 20% is actually not going from the pocket of the owner. It's actually staying in the pocket of the owner. It's not going out of the pocket of the owner. It's staying there. So the owner or the investor is not losing a single penny. It's actually being smart and actually provide the right pay and the right benefit and the right compensation to the team members, so they are part of the business. They are loyal to the business, and they care about the business.
Now, my company, we don't have profit sharing, but we do care about people. And one thing that my owner says a lot is, because people will challenge him and say, how can you must be losing so much money. And he says, well, we don't have any lawsuits, we don't have any workman's compensation, we don't have any union here. There's no union. So all these things that happen that are expensive when you don't care about people.
Of course.
But, oh no, you can't give away 20%. Yeah, but you got the union in because you didn't care about people. How much money are you spending on that? All the stuff that you're stealing. What about all the lawsuits and workman's comp claims that you have? But that's okay for some people, but it's not okay to have profit sharing, and it's not okay. So I think that's so innovative and so great.
I just need to find one person. You know,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, they told me, hey, you know, there is a lot of investors that they want the more traditional concept. Okay, I said, fine. You know, I'm not going for the 99% of people that they want to invest in hospitality. I'm going for the 1 or maybe 0.1% of people that they want to invest in something that is more meaningful. You know, in fact, the tagline for My Humble House is, profit is the consequence of our purpose. Because if people tell me how much money I'm gonna make, then I don't want to talk anymore to this person.
Yeah.
The conversation is over already, because that's not the person I want to get engaged with. That's not the person. So a person like the owner that I was working for, you know, during the pandemic, that they made a choice not to fire a single individual. That's the kind of people I want to work for.
Yeah.
And there are people like this. I just need to find them. It's okay.
Yeah, they do exist.
I will find. There's one person. I will find it.
If that is you and you're listening to the show, send Rocco a note. Rocco, tell us how people can connect with you if they want to get to know you or see more of you.
Well, they can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. This is basically my platform, my favorite platform. I'm afraid that they cannot connect with me because I've reached already the 30,000 limit. So I'm so sorry if I will not be able to accept your invitation, but we can follow each other and we can stay in touch. I can provide you with my personal email, no problem. Send me an invitation. I will reply to you that I cannot accept it, and I'll give you my contact so that we can stay in touch. And then, you know, I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so you will see me there.
Mm-hmm.
Great. We gotta get LinkedIn to increase that cap. We gotta be able to connect with Rocco.
That's
sure,
right.
I don't understand. You know, even Facebook, you can only have 5,000 friends. What is this?
Yeah, not a lot of people.
I mean,
It's not a lot of people over a lifetime, especially. It's not a lot it's
exactly. You know, anyway, it's, you know, who am I to say to complain about that?
It's a good problem plan. Oh, look at you need a second page on LinkedIn.
Yeah, Rocco
Yeah,
too.
that's fine. Yeah.
No. I have
Episode
enough pages that I need to manage and
enough
follow.
notifications as it is.
That's enough. One is enough.
Yeah.
Thank you. But thank you for the suggestion, Craig. It's very nice of you.
Well, Rocco, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. I'm glad that we're able to end it on a high note as it is, because I think that, you know, I'm certainly energized by your sentiments. Guys, I want to remind you that the best way to watch us is on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe, like the video, share the video, comment. The more that you engage, the more our videos will be boosted by the algorithm. So we really enjoy when you guys participate in that manner. And we'll see you on Tuesday. Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Central.
See you on Tuesday, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Rocco, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, guys. Have a nice evening.
You too.
Ciao.